Well, hey guys, welcome back. Or maybe you should be telling me welcome back. I haven't put a video out in a really, really long time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, and I thought a great way to get back into the swing of things would be to do a product review, and I've got a product that I've been wanting to review for quite a while. It is the Peak Design Travel Tripod. I own a bunch of tripods. I have literally like 9 or 10 tripods, including this Peak Design Travel Tripod, which I purchased. You know how it is. You get gear that to somebody else looks like it's redundant. Like, why do you have so many tripods? Well, this one's for this one's for that. These two were for this, that kind of thing. And that's exactly what happens. Unfortunately, you get all these purpose designed and purpose built pieces of gear, and then all of a sudden you've got to take a trip someplace and you need to go light and you need to go fast and you need to go easy, and none of those giant tripods are just going to work. So that was what I was faced with at some point, and I said, I need a tiny little tripod, but it's got to be good quality. It's got to have support and be sturdy. It's got to have functions that I need, and it's got to really work. So I tried to look among the names that I trusted, and one of those names is Peak Design. I own a lot of their smaller products, and everybody knows about their straps and their strap system, which is fantastic. Obviously, we all have a bunch of those, right? And slings and things like that. But I never bought any of their hardware, let's say. So I bought it over a year ago, and I have been using it and traveling with it, and now I'm going to tell you about it. So first, let's talk about just the specs, just the physical characteristics of the tripod, and then we'll move on. So this tripod comes in two ways, aluminum and carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is much more expensive than the aluminum one, so I cheaped out and I bought the aluminum one, which was expensive enough. We'll get to that later. The tripod has 5 leg sections, each about a foot or so long. It weighs just under 3.5 pounds. It's rated for a payload of 20 pounds. In other words, you can put 20 pounds worth of camera and lens on it. When it's fully deployed, it reaches 51.25 inches tall with the center column down, and 60 inches with the center column all the way raised. Of course, the column can be stopped at any point along there, making fine adjustments to that height pretty easy to do. When it's fully collapsed for storage, it's 15.5 inches long with a diameter of just about 3.25 inches. The leg locks are cams made of aluminum with long and easy to manipulate locking levers. The levers are polymer and they fold pretty tightly to the legs, making accidental unlocking unlikely, but still possible. Tightening and loosening the head and the extension posts are all done via rings and knobs rather than levers. Friction is extremely good, and when snugged down, everything holds really well, even with heavy gear on it. There are a lot of little extras with the Peak Design Travel Tripod. The Peak Design connection plate is easy to attach to your camera or to your lens foot, but the head is also Arca Swiss compatible, so if you already have Arca compatible mounts, you're all set. Okay, so the Peak Design Travel Tripod looks great on paper. The specs are great. It comes with a lot of nice elements that we need in a travel tripod and in a tripod in general. And it has a lot of nice accessories available for it as well if you need to add those things on. But what about in the field? You got to be able to use it in the field, or it's really not very much use unless all you do is studio work, right? So, and I do most of my work in the field. As you can see, here I am in a field. All right, so starting with the travel tripod in its provided case, which is a nice sort of soft bag, got a little bit of padding to it. It's got a nice carry handle. It's got 2 other little areas where you can hook your strap to if you want to carry it around your shoulders. It really is well thought out from a little bag perspective. This is much better than this is just the little case it came in, I'm going to throw that away and buy a better one. No, I don't think you're going to find a better one. So unzip it. It's got that sort of 3/4 or 1/4 type zip at the top. Pull the tripod out, and as you can see, it is small and relatively light. It's not as light as you might think. It's like 3.5 pounds with this is the aluminum one, but it is still pretty light. Now for deployment, one of the things I really like is you can take all 4 of these cams and throw them open just like that and deploy it really quickly that way. So I like that. It does a nice job of gravity feeding itself. So now, there we go. There's your basic tripod. And as you can see, fully deployed, it is, I'm not real tall. You know, I'm about 5.5 feet tall. So, you know, it's up to my center of my chest. But of course, we do have the centerpiece that will rise. There are pros and cons to having a telescoping center rod to a tripod. The higher you go with one of these, the more stability you might be sacrificing. I'm always a little leery. Depends on what I'm putting on it though. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, what you're putting on it. So I'm gonna lock this with this extended just a few inches. And I'm gonna give this what I think is probably the ultimate test. Now I can push down on this, and I'm pushing down fairly hard. It's not going anywhere. It's not giving. It's got nice rigidity for as small and light as it is. And when I say small, I mean relatively narrow legs, and especially when you get down to the bottom, they're really skinny. But the real test for me is, can I use this with the gear that I would tend to want to use it with in the field? If I'm going to travel someplace to a shoot, it's probably going to be a wildlife excursion, and so I'm going to want to bring some serious gear. All right, it doesn't get much more serious than this as far as gear. In terms of the latest modern gear, I'm a Nikon shooter, so this is the Nikon Z9 and the Nikon Z600 TC, 600 f4 TC. I'm going to put this on this travel tripod. Now, the first thing I need to do is I need to unlock my Arca Swiss lock, and I do have an Arca Swiss foot on this lens, so put it in there, put that down, get it to where I think it probably should be, and then the first thing I want to do is lock it. I want to make sure that that disconnect cannot be actuated. Right? So right off the bat, you can see, you know, and I'm kind of wiggling it a little bit. She's there, she's on it. So with the ring for the ball head, I got my lens collar my foot collar loose. So, okay, with the ring for the ball head, if you loosen it just a little bit, I'm trying to find a sweet spot. You loosen it just a little, you can almost get it to be sort of semi-fluid head-like. You can create just a little bit of friction, a little bit of drag there. So where I could, like if I was tracking a bird, I could track that bird and have a lot of free motion without having to hold the weight of the camera and lens. And then all I'd have to do, you know, if I keep my hand right here on this ring, I could just freeze it right there anytime I wanted to, just by a, you know, 5-degree twist. So that really works pretty nice. And I'm trying to see if I sort of just let it, see there, it actually feels pretty balanced. It doesn't want to tip, it wants to tip more side to side than it does back or front. So I feel like I've kind of already hit the sweet spot on the foot. So I've got it pretty balanced. The rating for the travel tripod is 20 pounds load. And this is certainly a heavy load, but it is not 20 pounds. It's closer to half that. So somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds is the equipment that I've got on here. So even if you had an older version of a 600 f4 or an old Nikon 800 5.6 and a DSLR like a D6 or D5, you're still going to be in the
range of the weight capacity for this tripod. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. What I worry about personally is having my very expensive equipment resting on a tripod like this and worrying about how stable it is. Now, you can see if I shake these legs just a little, you can see that camera shake, and that's pretty significant. And that's one of the things that really kind of concerns me. All right, so if I bring this all the way down and I lock the ball head in place, the ball head will lock down into, there are tabs that locks down in between these legs. Okay, so I lock the ball head in place, then I lock the ring. There's still a little bit of wiggle, a little bit of shake. That honestly doesn't bother me too much, because if I'm shooting action, I'm going to be moving. I want my camera mobile, so I'm not going to be tightened down anyway. I'm going to be moving it. If I'm shooting something like if I was shooting a 600 millimeter landscape, or if I just wanted to shoot, you know, I'm focused on a bird nest or something like that, for example, and I would want to have it steady on that subject, I'm probably not going to be touching it much, or I'm going to be using a remote release or a cable release. So I don't worry too much about that little bit of shake. I would expect that for a tripod like this. What I worry about, or what I would be concerned about, is just the overall support quality. So again, having this camera and lens wind up on the ground is not something that would make me very happy. So I want to be able to throw this into luggage in a suitcase, save all that weight and space by having this travel tripod, and be able to use it with this gear. I am that picky, yes. That is my expectation. So it really does, and I'm just on grass and dirt here. It just, and it's really doing a great job. Now there is some flex. If I flex two legs, rock them back and forth like this, there's some flex there. So is this going to give you the same kind of support as your really big carbon fiber, thick leg tripod? Of course not. And I think it would be kind of silly to expect that it would. Is it good enough that you could get by with it for, traveling and shooting, depending on what you do, of course? And I think it probably is. I would be okay using this tripod this way, and I would even go as far as to say that I would be okay to extend it a little bit and bring it up here to my eye. Now, if you're 6'2", you might want to think about it, because to get it up to your eye level, you're going to have to bring that center post way high, and then you could be flirting with instability. But for me, for the way I shoot, if I kept my hand on the ring, I feel more comfortable keeping my hand on this tightening ring. And then, yeah, I could track action. You just got to be careful, because, it is a ball head, and the downside of ball heads is that they're like weebly wobbly. So the only way I would probably feel comfortable is to have it either completely tightened and maybe even locked in place into the legs, or keep my hand on that tightening ring so that I feel like I've got control. And the other nice thing about it is if it does start to wobble, I can quickly move my hand up and grab that foot. The other big advantage with this is that, you can go into low mode with this and be just like 5 inches off the ground with your camera and lens. And with this lens, the front element of the lens probably would be 2 inches off the ground if you went to that low mode. It's nice to have one piece of kit that can accomplish all the things you need for support. So, and I guess maybe the next question would be, could you use this in place of a tripod and a monopod? If I were to bring all these legs down together, tight, then obviously I've increased the height by doing that. Bring this down to where it's comfortable to me, to my eye, which is just a little bit above its locked position, then in theory, I could use this tripod also as a monopod if I wanted to. So a suggestion for Peak Design folks, not that anybody's from Peak Design is going to be watching my video, but a suggestion would be an adapter, sell an accessory where the 3 feet go into a little dish like a coaster, right? But convex, right? Like a little dish that they'll somehow latch into easily that turns this into a monopod. So that way, so you could twist it, is what I'm saying, without twisting your legs and without damaging it or, messing it up. If you could make a monopod conversion adapter for the feet, that would be incredible. It could be done. Just make something that the 3 feet click into, and it's sort of, got a nice convex shape to it so that you can slide so that you can twist this way. That would be cool. And I will be happy to test that for you in the field. So this is the aluminum. There's also a carbon fiber. The carbon fiber, they say, is a little bit stiffer yet than the aluminum. So it's only gets better if you get the carbon fiber, although the carbon fiber is ridiculously expensive. This is expensive enough. You're pushing $400 for this tripod, and you're pushing $600, I think, for the carbon fiber. So, if it's really going to be a good one-size-fits-all solution for you, then yes, you could justify that cost. If it's just going to be, yeah, I need a tripod that every once in a while I can throw into my suitcase, then that might be a little tough of a pill to swallow. So, and it kind of was for me, it was sort of an unknown thing. It's like, I do want a small tripod that I can travel with, but I don't know if I want to spend that carbon fiber money. So I bought the aluminum one. Now that I do have the aluminum one, I would love to upgrade to carbon fiber and get that little extra bit of stiffness, but I still don't know if I would justify the cost. So I'm actually tracking birds. There are some, it's just turkey vultures, nothing to get excited about. And that's the thing, if you're tracking birds in flight, for example, you're going to need to have this orientation. So you need to raise the tripod high enough so that your eyepiece is level with your eye or thereabouts, right? While you're doing your tracking. So it is important to be able to have this amount of stiffness. Bottom line, I would feel comfortable using the travel tripod from Peak Design for this gear, this equipment, which is very big, very heavy, and very expensive. And I would trust using this tripod with it.
There's a handy little tool that's included. It has 2 different size Allen wrenches that fit everything you might need to adjust on the tripod, and it clips right to the leg, so it's always with you. One note of caution though, I have accidentally dislodged this tool from its holder and almost lost it. If I hadn't happened to just see it on the ground and say, hey, what's that? I would have lost it. So I think I might put some tape around it to better secure it. The center post or mast has a hook at the bottom so that you can hang weight on it for extra stability, like your camera bag or something else that has some weight to it. The hook can be removed so that the mast can be reversed, putting the head downward. Or the column can be removed entirely for what's called low mode. Inside the hollow tube is an included mobile mount that can be used to secure your smartphone to the head of the tripod. There's also a tool included in a pouch inside the case for additional maintenance. There are connection points on the tripod and the soft case to allow you to use the famous Peak Design strap connectors. Then you can sling it over your shoulder or secure it to a pack or whatever you want to do. Obviously, I would love to have my heavy-duty tripod with me everywhere I go, but that's just not practical. Sometimes it's impossible. So I think this Peak Design travel tripod is the best compromise that I've seen, and that's why I bought it. And as I said, I've had it for over a year. I've used it in the field, and I've traveled with it. I like it. I think it's a good value, even at the price. You get what you pay for. Peak Design seems like a company that stands by its products, and this one does carry a lifetime warranty. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You can really support this channel and help me keep content flowing by hitting like and being a subscriber. I'm Dave. This is Nights and Weekends. Thanks for watching.